Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to our monthly public community coherence call. Good to see you all. It's October 7th, 2020. And wow, so much beauty is emerging everywhere. People would go, what? If you're listening to some sources of media, you might be going, what? Beauty? Beauty? What? So hopefully we'll discover some beauty together here this morning. I want to just read our vision and mission of Good of the Whole, and I shifted it up a bit so that it was in a sentence form. I just want you to hear this before we do our attunement this morning and take these words into the heart resonance as we gather here. So beginning by the world is changing. Hear the call. It's time to step up and co-create whole systems healing so that every individual lives valued, connected, and whole. We come together in greater coherence to cultivate an ethos of wholeness and nurture our innate capacity to live for the good of the whole. So that's who we be as Good of the Whole. That's who we be as mentoring stewards. And that's who we be as a community of amazing, incredible people here to help with that global transition on the planet right now. So welcome to you all. Welcome those who are just popping in. And we will begin with Linda doing a little resonant attunement for us. Linda?
Okay, I feel so tiny with all the universe behind me here. So here we are together. I just don't want to close my eyes yet. I want to keep looking at everyone. Let's take a moment to close our eyes and be present energetically, and to take that breath of oneness together. And allow ourselves to really feel into what it is to live valued. Feeling that sense of confidence and self-esteem and courage to know that we are living as valued beings, each one of us. And moving into that word allow over and over again. Allowing the field to inform us, to guide us forward into our fullest potential. Because we are valued and valuable. Remembering that each one of us is contributing to the good of the whole matrix of all life. Breathing that in. And allow your spine to straighten a little bit more. And feel your chest open and expand a little bit more. And your shoulders move back and down just a little bit more. Because we know we are valued by the great mystery that loves us so much. That it brought us to this place, in this time, in this moment, as mentoring stewards. Mentoring each other and allowing the intelligence of the field to mentor us. And as stewards, we hold that. We hold that frequency and anchor and ground this force of love onto the earth. And in that, we know we are living connected to this miraculous planet and to humanity and to all of life. And in that, we know we are whole. There is no separation. Let that move through your awareness and your consciousness. As we float so effortlessly and easily in this field of love, of wisdom, of compassion, creativity, generosity. And so, as we let our brilliant light shine, we take another deep breath, acknowledging and allowing the knowing that we are living, valued, and connected and whole. And with great gratitude, we bring ourselves back to our circle. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Linda. That was beautiful. So beautiful. And 2 weeks ago, I just want to share this. 2 weeks ago, we were in our Mentoring Stewards call, and I just started speaking about mentoring stewards. And Tyson said, "Is that written down somewhere, or you should grab that clip," because it was really a beautiful explanation of mentoring stewards. So I just want to drop this in before we do a few check-ins and announcements, and then we're going to break into small groups and look deeper into that beauty that we're talking about here. But I had written, or I had spoken into the field, that mentoring stewards are mentoring and being mentored by the unified field of consciousness and the impulse of evolution itself. Grounded in unitive consciousness and expressing our inherent wholeness, we're stewards of conscious evolution, actualizing personal, cultural, and planetary healing, whole systems health, and a whole worldview. And therefore, we are establishing heart resonance and greater coherence for the good of the whole. So just feeling into that, what that really means, each one of us can step into our own sacred authority and what it means for that mentoring role and that stewarding role that we all call forward here. That really the impulse of evolution is calling forward from us. So I want to do a few announcements. And I'm going to begin, Amani, I didn't ask you ahead of time, but we have just a few things that are shifting in the connection field, and we always like to give you updates. There's not a lot shifting in the connection field. However, the connection field team is really working hard and things are emerging. The one thing that's shifted 360 degrees is the morning fire ceremony. And Amani, do you want to give us an update on what's emerged and moving in the field for the morning ceremony?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, the vision has been to tap into the collective field and the collective consciousness, and to really bring the morning fire ceremony that was primarily focused initially in the Maya cosmology to the modern people's cosmology, to interfaith cosmology of the planet, and to expand it so that we are actually opening the space for the good of the whole, like in all expressions. And so this improvisational kind of ceremony work has been my life's work, and I resonate with all of the words that I've read and the mission statement and my personal experience. And so I put out a call to really do this as a collective. I put down some maps for ceremony form and concepts, and the folks liked it, and we've been in exploration and in process. So it's a collective model, so that, you know, my goal is to be replaceable, so that I am not the central ringleader of the morning circle. Instead, we're creating a ring of leaders, and we're mentoring how to step into modern world ceremonial space and inspire folks with poetry and song and share and be able to say good morning to each other and good morning to the sun. And so it's a very uh, it's becoming, and you know, as far as you mentioned Tyson, and we're doing some planetary work with a new Madrid Earth Ring, and we've been focusing the work there. We've been focusing the work towards the election and the inspiration of humanity for folks to come forward and help make the world a better place through Morning Circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Amani. So if anyone wants to participate and get involved, Amani will definitely have you on her list. Get a hold of Amani. Amani, is there an email that they could reach you at? What's the best way to contact you?
I'll put it in the chat so that everybody can write it down. Email or on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, and there's definitely places where it's you could make a 5-minute offering, you could make a 15-minute offering, you could mentor the experience for a 7-day period of time, and if you have other interfaith leaders, ceremonial spiritual leaders that you would recommend, please pass that on to us so that we can reach out and really have a full planetary experience every morning. Thank you.
It's beautiful. This morning, listening to the fire, I was thinking about that we are a cooperation circle, the multi-region, which is the global cooperation circle for United Religions Initiative, and how easy it will be to reach out to the other cooperation circles and ask for those that want to offer prayers and blessings and get that list started for you. So excited about that it truly can be a global initiative. And the other piece that's really exciting is the self-organizing that's happening, that this is truly a community project that's emerging from the community. And so that in itself is really a beautiful thing. So before we break out into subgroups, are there any other announcements or anything that's emergent in the field that anyone wants to bring to our collective attention? We'll have time to check in our smaller groups, and we'll have time to come back and process afterwards if there's anything urgent. Oh, Andrea. Yes, I want to bring Andrea on. That was the other piece. The surveys. Many of you have seen, let me introduce that. In the digest, you've seen the survey, and then for the invitation for this morning, if you got that and haven't done the surveys, we invite you to participate in that. Andrea, give us a little update on that, please.
Yes, you just read my mind, Julie. So we created 2 surveys. One is a connection field community kind of questionnaire. It's kind of long. I think it takes about 15 minutes was the average amount of time that it took people. But this is really helping us really understand what the community wants and what the community needs, and where the community can help us really rise to our potential together. So please fill that out. And then we have another one that was created. A lot of people have been really interested in volunteering, but we haven't quite had a format or a structure to really bring volunteers. But we really would love that support. So we're organizing that and really trying to understand the support that people do want to give, so we can start to bring some more form and structure around our volunteer programming. So they're in the digest, both surveys, and look forward to hearing from you. And the first one is completely anonymous unless you want to leave your name. And there's lots of space. They're not just yes, no questions, but a lot of questions where I left space for you to really share from your heart what you're thinking and how we can do better and serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, and encourage you all, please participate in that. Your voice matters. And we have a couple people that have raised their hands. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes each if you can make it really brief, and we'll start with Elizabeth.
Thank you, beloveds. It's happy to be here with you. I've been in contact with a woman's soul who's working directly with the indigenous people of the Amazon, and they have come out of their remote territory, which is being encroached upon very intentionally with the fires and with violence against them, and they're asking the world for help. And so I'm looking for ways to interweave all the compassionate souls on the planet that are seeking evolutionary change, because the Amazon is at the tipping point. The climate scientists agree that 20 to 25% is the tipping point where the Amazon begins a self-perpetuating feedback loop where it becomes a savanna and the rainforest is lost. And that's where we're at. So we have a very narrow window of opportunity, but mostly the elders, the indigenous wisdom keepers, are dying of COVID, and they're not getting the support for the government for medicine. They're organizing their own firefighting crews, and they need help with that. And so there's a lot of obstruction from the government, and so really this is a very distinct call. So I just put this into this group and bring it to council to find ways that this group can organize and help them in a very significant way, and just ask that. And Oriana has come on board with it, and basically simply we're meeting at 9 o'clock every morning in the conversation, which is theconversation.cc, to work on coordinating with Soul, who is in touch with the partners in Brazil and the indigenous representatives themselves. And right as we speak, she's speaking with the European EU and bringing this appeal to them. So, and then the other thing is that the head chief of the indigenous tribes of the Amazon has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And so you'll see that I'm posting different petitions online. So that's one way we can help, is just bringing our awareness to our social media groups and sharing and posting when things come up. So thank you, loves.
So Elizabeth, I just want to, before we let you go, clarify the call here. I'm hearing, number one, share on social media. Number two, if you're interested, join you on the conversation every morning at 9 a.m. What time zone?
Pacific time zone.
Pacific time zone. And then number three, was there another thing that is specific and concrete that you need right now, or you're just exploring ways to help?
They're needing money. So they're needing funds. So if you see it, there's a couple petitions that I'm putting on that one's going directly to the firefighters. The Guardians of the Forest is the name of the group from Brazil, and it's the indigenous people. So things like that. And then also very specifically, we're asking on October 20th that the creatives of the world, the artists, and basically launching on the 20th and culminating on Earth Day, is asking the creatives to put their artistic expression to this call, which isn't just the rainforest of the Amazon, really, it's the water cycle of the planet. Because if the Amazon goes, that's kind of the downward slide. But it's a tropical rainforest all around the planet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you write in the chat what that conversation, CC, how we get to that? Thank you.
And Gil, did you raise your hand? Gil.
Just real quickly, Elizabeth, Oriana made me aware of this yesterday, and it immediately occurs to me to connect with Purpose Earth, which is our friends of Emmanuel Kunselman and Ben Bowler. I don't know if you're connected with them already.
I am. I haven't yet filled out the grant application.
Yep.
Now, my question is this going, would it be a grant going to the,
They have to answer that. I don't have the details. I'm just saying that's an immediate, present, near contact, and if you need, I can help connect that.
thank
The
you,
other one
Gil.
that comes up is Polly Higgins, who passed away in the UK, who made the environmental lawyer to make ecocide a crime against humanity. So maybe some folks in the UK. And on the artist side, I also have an idea and I celebrate that. So I'm happy to support that.
Okay, I'm going to put
I'm-
my
no-
information in and you can contact me directly as well.
Yeah, and if you either put in the send to us or put in the chat the social media ready post, something so we don't have to create because I don't feel comfortable to create it, but I'm happy to share what is created.
Yeah. I'll be sharing this to the mentoring stewards group as well. So things that we're wanting to have you move, I'll share as well.
Happy to do so.
Yeah.
I'm not a specialist in anything, so including astrology, but I do know enough to have watched it, and this year has proven out the Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter conjunctions. And just a quick heads up, Julie, to your point, it seems that this month of October is an incredibly outrageous astronomically and astrologically, with 3 moons, 2 full moons, and very powerful retrogrades, et cetera, that are rarely seen. And so that the expectation is this continued revelations of truths and the pedophilia, the corruption will continue, and that while we've already had some unexpected non-linear shocks to our system this year, that more are very probable this month and next. And just to be that on everyone's radar, so it doesn't catch you by surprise, and so we're expecting even unexpected with an open heart. And I loved, as you pointed out, with standing in our sacred authority.
Thank you, Gil.
Could I jump in real quickly, since we were talking about the artistic coming together as well, that at 10 o'clock on Conversation CC, following in conjunction with Elizabeth, we'll be doing a writing table and bringing together different artistic expressions so that we can really have an ongoing and unified story of water in the Amazon, that we can keep it forefront and bring this to a greater awareness.
And there is also a movement to a plan, not just a movement, a plan to create a Live Aid type large global event. So we'll be keeping you informed of that as well. And that's part of how we're looking to get any of the sort of high caliber influencer celebrities. So if you have any contacts and you know that they would be resonant with that, you can also send them to me.
Okay, anything else for the good of the whole before we do some breakouts, get to speak more intimately in smaller groups here? There's lots moving in the field. There's a lot more that's really stirring and emerging, and I agree with Gil, there's a lot more coming. How do we stay calm and centered? How do we hold the whole without getting pulled into the polarization and the muck and mire of a world that's deconstructing and reconstructing before our eyes? How do we not get pulled into the emotional body of conscious evolution as it's happening and stay fully aware of the whole? How do we do that? And so this is the topic of, I was asked to share a post that I had made, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to read a poem, and then I'm just going to bring this into all of us as this challenge moving forward, is as we are mentoring stewards for the good of the whole, as we are mentoring conscious evolution and stewarding this new earth forward, stewarding the divine universal human that's being born, this new culture of love, the heart. How do we do that during these tumultuous times? And if you think about what Gil shared, it's part of the plan, right? It's like the planets are aligning to create a lot of chaos. And we're here to create a lot of calm, to stay grounded, to grow this field, and to be here ready, participating in conscious evolution from our hearts. So I'm going to share this before we break out into smaller groups. This is a quote from Susie Kasim, and I can't remember the source. It was a book, and I can't remember her book. And I don't know Susie, but I loved this quote. I have been finding treasures in places I did not want to search. I've been hearing wisdom from tongues I did not want to listen. I have been finding beauty where I did not want to look. And I have learned so much from journeys I did not want to take. Forgive me, O gracious one, for I have been closing my ears and eyes for too long. I have learned that miracles are only called miracles because they are often witnessed by only those who can see through all life's illusions. I am ready to see what really exists on the other side, what exists behind the blinds, and taste all the ugly fruit instead of all that looks right, plump, and ripe. I love that last line. And I found that quote when I was watching this. I'll tell you, if you have paid attention, a couple days ago, I was like in my newsfeed, I saw the same post, and it literally perplexed me. And then I just started laughing out loud because it came from a far right Trump supporter and a far left Biden supporter, and they were both putting it out there with all of their words of why this post was true. And it was fascinating to me. They were both speaking of it, and I started to laugh because it said, they are just angry because the truth you speak contradicts the lie they live. I'll read it again. They are just angry because the truth you speak contradicts the lie they live. So they were each talking about their truth, speaking to the lie the other lived. And it was two people in the feed. And I just began laughing and thought, okay, how do we navigate these times, seeing that's the reality of the political terrain breaking down. That's conscious evolution, re-governing the governance, the impulse of evolution, clearing and seeing and moving and shifting so that literally we can have a world that works for everyone. And so with that beautiful quote, I just want us to hold, as we're holding the whole, where can we find beauty? How can we find beauty in the places we don't want to look? So this is our question for our small group. Let us look deeper with compassion. Let us see clearer. Let us find beauty in the chaos. Let us find treasures where we don't want to look. And let us taste the sweetness of greater truth. So where are we finding beauty? And where are we looking? Where are the places we don't want to look to find that beauty? And that's the question I want us to break out into small groups and muse on for a while together. And then we'll come back in and share the fruits of that. We'll harvest the fruits from our small groups and have a beautiful conversation. You're welcome to have a scribe in your small group, but if you don't, we're not going to have the scribes report in. I just want the organic conversation to flow, which we all enjoy so much more than reporting back. So Linda, you have the host. Can you break us into small groups? Let's see, we have 5, 21. We could do either 7 groups of 3 or 6 groups, whichever feels better. And we'll break out for 20 minutes. Are you with me, Linda?
So how many rooms do we want?
6 or 7, choose.
Let's do
Lucky
6.
7.
Okay, we're doing 7. We're doing triads.
Okay, create 7 breakout rooms automatically. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Linda. See you on the other side.
Are you kidding? If you don't believe now.
The universe loves us too.
I believe in peanut butter. Clap your hands.
Hi, Claudia.
Hola, Claudia.
You're on mute, honey. I don't call people honey. Where'd that come from? You're on mute.
Buenos
Sometimes I'll
días.
say hun.
How are you?
Hola, mi amor. Espero que hables español, ¿no?
Ah, sí, por supuesto. Mi familia está todos en Guatemala.
Ay, qué rico. Qué bien.
¿Y dónde aprendiste ese español?
En la calle,
¿Dónde vivís?
en España.
Ah,
España,
qué bonito.
Yeah.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente. Okay, we got that out of the way.
I know. I wish I spoke Spanish. I took
Oh my
art.
God. I have
took
so
art
much
and music
things
instead
that
of
bring me joy.
Oh, it's good to be in the small group with you. I'm sorry, Claudia. I haven't seen Gil for weeks. He took off and went to Europe without me and was in Spain and traveling and playing. And we haven't seen each other. So I was kind of giddy to have him in here. He's kind of giddy too. Can you tell?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And this was my tail wagging. And I was glad other people wagged their tails too. Well, I'm going to kick off.
Oh, here comes Linda.
I just love
Ooh, now it's a party room.
Awesome.
Oh,
I got lost in space.
You got lost. Well, we're glad you're not lost anymore.
There's no one there.
Judy, I'm going to take advantage of this time we came for, because you threw me a wrench in there, which actually is what I love about you, with that last little dependent clause. Yes, where do you look for joy and beauty? Oh gosh, I'm all in on that, as you know, and that's what I've been doing across. We've been to Istanbul and through Spain, Aragon and Valencia, Catalonia, coming back through Amsterdam, and I can't tell you how much joy and beauty we found. But then you threw that little wrench in places you don't want to look. So A, thank you for that. B, I think, talk about grabbing a tail, a creature by the tail. Wow. I think that's really important. Through this relook at history and through the art and reviewing the role of art through, the evolution of Europe and our awareness and our spirituality, starting in 1000 AD, and how the visual arts were such a critical way. The visual arts plus military aggressivism, Christianity. The reason that we're all Christians in North and South America is because the Christian jihadists, which through force and power, and I found out the first witch hunts were in Catalonia to wipe out the mother-to-daughter matriarchy, prior religions. So I don't know if that's the place I didn't want to look. It's certainly what I want to tell and remind people. It's like, children, remember, how we got here was not a pretty story either. And it is a much larger picture. So that's just kind of where I wanted to open, because you threw a powerful one in there. Finding beauty and joy is easy, but in places I didn't want to look, thank you.
Thanks, Gil. I'll jump in, and I hope both of you do as well. Because I've been looking in places I don't want to look, is the political terrain and the ugliness of what's happening. And which is also fascinating, that I saw some visions, some really had powerful visions earlier in the year, and said to a friend, I think this is going to happen, and I think that's going to happen. And she called the other day and said, do you realize these things are happening that you said? And I'm like, yeah, I know. And it's going to keep going this way, and it's going to keep doing. And so I've been tuning in more, because I don't want to look there. It's ugly. It's broken. It's nasty. It's mean-spirited. I mean, there's so much ugh there. And yet I am finding the beauty. I'm finding the beauty in several things. Number one, the evolution of consciousness that's clearly at hand, that's clearly driving change. You see the impulse of evolution in everything, even people's fear. I'm just thinking about my neighbors and all the Trump flags. And it's simply, there are those who are disenfranchised. I think Linda and I were talking about this the other day, is there's those that are disenfranchised who get behind Trump. But there's also those who are afraid of change. They don't know that they'll be taken care of, and they don't want to have their hard work and everything be taken away and be made socialist with all the skewing and the lying and the shifting of truth. And yet the two-party system's broke. So I'm seeing the beauty in that. I'm really seeing underneath the ugly, and I'm seeing the beauty in the ugly. And I'm seeing, it's like that last line in that quote is about the fruit. I do this. I pick the best blueberries out of the cart, and I pick the prettiest blueberries. I pick the best, all fruit, strawberries. I pick the prettiest ones, the reddest ones, the gorgeous ones. Apples, I pick them in the store. I always pick the prettiest ones. And one experience, I wrote a blog about this, it's probably been a decade ago, but I accidentally popped an overripe, bursted open blueberry in my mouth by accident. I look at them and I go, ooh, gross. I don't want to eat those. Yuck. And I grabbed a handful of blueberries, and there was one in there that already broke open. It was, it was just barely, not broke open, but broke open. It was soft and mushy. And I found that soft and mushy blueberry on my tongue, and I went, ooh. And then all of a sudden, this amazing, sweet, incredible blueberry flavor washed my mouth and changed my mind. It was like the best blueberry I had ever eaten. And it would have been the ugly one that I never would have picked up. And I started to learn that blueberries, as they ripen, the riper they are, the sweeter they are, just like a banana, just like every other fruit. So yeah, I'm perplexed by this quote, and I want to keep playing with it. So thank you, and I'm complete.
It just reminds me of, you can't judge a book by its cover. That simple statement. You see something on the outside, but you really don't know what's on the inside. And I don't know, I think I've really been fortunate in my life to, for some reason, to be the person I have found I can be with things that other people are uncomfortable with. In the Jewish tradition, there's a group called the Hever Kadisha, and we stay with the deceased body and help prepare it for burial, for the being in the coffin. And when I was younger, it was like, I can do that. That didn't bother me. And if I could do it and 10 other people couldn't, I needed to step up and do those things. In fact, I even had the honor of doing that with my own mother before she was buried, to wash her body. And And I've lived with someone who had terrible addiction problems, and I was able to look at that and be with that and understand with compassion somebody else who would be going through that. So, and my children were always friends with people from other cultures and races, and I think when we're looking at finding the beauty in chaos, is that when you realize everything is part of this whole, everything is just an expression. You can look at a dandelion weed and you can look at a beautiful rose and say, which one would you choose? What's wrong with the dandelion weed? Why do we need to kill that, but we need to let the other one grow? So I question that, because it's I don't know if it's finding beauty, I guess that's the word, but it's finding appreciation for things that are different, and really loving the diversity of what is possible on this planet and loving that miracle. So, where and how can we find beauty in chaos and where we don't want to look? I think the first thing is to just look, keep looking. Don't be afraid to look. My nightmares stopped when I was lucid enough to look in my dream at what I was afraid of. Look at it. Don't run away from it. So I don't know if that's easy to do or not, but there it is. So I'm complete. I'll let Claudia add in.
Thank you. It's funny because when the question was asked, I went through the whole same process, kind of like Jill. I live in that happiness. I try to see the beauty in things. I love to travel. I've got that gypsy heart, But my reality is, and since a very young age, I know I live in the weird. I know I'm different. I know I came in plugged in differently. I've worked with the dying. I have worked with the, mentally and physically, disabled, that were in the homes being taken care of, in, halfway homes, in shelters for women. Being a medium, I deal with a lot of death. Being a counselor and that sort of stuff, you deal with the yuck of it. And I think that right now the universe is asking us all to look at that yuck. Because I think when, Linda was talking about people with addictions, or people, who are just transitioning at the end of their life for whatever reason, age or infirm, a disease, an illness. When people get to those stages of being that raw, that opened up like that blueberry, that's where the true magic, that's where the true essence of people is. That rawness is what allows us to grow. That rawness is what allows us to heal. I think we don't want to look at the yuck. We always want to be in the content and in the happy. But when we do healing and we put all of this wonderful, yummy energy on stuff, it's not really beneficial if we haven't swept and dusted. It's like our homes, man. We have to wash our floors, and we have to dust, and we have to take away the cobwebs and all of that stuff before we can polish it. You can't polish something when it's still covered in dust. So this sweeping stuff under the carpet, this not wanting to look at things and putting it aside, is only, beneficial to a certain extent. But when we go deeper, when we go raw, when we clean house, like we're being asked to do right now, that's where things can shift. That's where things can grow. Usually people are scared of that, but the transition, the beauty of it, stepping through that, fear, that's where we all get empowered. And again, in my belief, that's where true change happens. So I think that healing and community and all of that is beautiful, but I think going deeper on platforms like this is really beneficial. You know, let's not just put band-aids over those wounds anymore. Let's get rid of the infection. Let's clean it out so that it can really heal. To me, the ancestors are really important as well. A lot of people talk about the modern and what works now. Well, without them, what we have today wouldn't work. They've created the path. And I think that they have a lot of really good knowledge and wisdom. The knowledge and wisdom, how do we use it in this day and age? How do we sit there and tie those threads together and weave that into the modern? How does it assist us now instead of just cutting off those ties? We can never heal our lineages, and we can never heal those ties if we're just cutting them off. So with that, I'm complete for now. Thank you.
I'm just going to interject that I don't know how to do the timing of coming back from the breakout rooms. Do I just leave a message that, what, you're on mute, Julie?
Did it ask you to say 20 minutes and you put in
No.
20 minutes? Oh, you didn't? Oh,
No.
it usually does. Okay, yeah, why don't you give like a 2-minute warning and then we'll take
Limited timer.
I mean, I'm loving this. People can
I
go
know.
on, but
I could stay with you. For
broadcast a
an hour.
message to all. Okay, let's just do a message.
Thanks for asking. The thing I love about this community is that we've fundamentally, oh, there's Linda's breakout room. 2 more minutes.
It's coming up on my computer.
What?
It's not coming up on my computer. Something's wacky with my thing today. But
Okay,
that's
well, it's coming up here. So as humanity, we fundamentally misunderstood who we are as a species and our relationship to ourselves, the divine, earth, and all our inhabitants. We fundamentally misunderstood it. And yet this community's awake and aware. And so it's exciting because we're working on ways of how do we then take this awareness out and expand it on a much more grander global scale. Like Claudia, your wisdom right there, that snippet needs to go out into the ethers and be heard. Gil, yours. Linda, yours. It's like that message, that wisdom, that understanding is that it is waking others from that misunderstanding, you know. And so I'm just excited. There's lots of exciting things coming. There's a lot of yeah, I'm just really honored to be sitting with you and to just be able to see everyone's light being amplified and magnified and brought out on a greater scale. So thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you for creating this space and container, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to just stay here and keep talking, but close all rooms. I guess if I close all rooms, does it immediately close or what happens?
Claudia, ¿cómo te encuentro? ¿Estás en Facebook? ¿Dónde te
Yes,
busco?
Claudia Valdez on Facebook, or find me the small medium at large.
Okay. And we know that humor is the closest aspect to spirituality. Yeehaw!
I'm on Facebook and my business cards and everything. It's the small medium at large.
All medium
Claudia
at
Valdez.
large.
I'm closing the room.
Okay, Catherine, thanks, Linda.
Oh, we
Return
have
to the
one
main
minute.
session.
I have 1 minute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Claudia,
In Agnew, like Spiro Agnew.
Excellent. I look forward to connecting.
Likewise, and we'll talk Guatemala.
Yes.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Everybody should come with me to Guatemala.
Well, I was thinking as you were saying that, I've been there in some of those, you know, there's so much transgender and glue sniffing, and I've been some of the orphanages, and it was just so much pain there in Guatemala City, I know.
I have a great organization I support that my cousin's been working with for about 20 years. It's amazing.
And I went to see the Garufana on the East Coast, which you can only
In
get
Livingston.
Madonna.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Love you guys. See you in the other room.
You have two friends who've met. There you go.
Ah,
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, we got the problem solved in our part of the world.
Awesome. I think I'd love to see all the solutions from all the different areas of the world that are happening. Awesome. And I think we're short a few yet, but they'll be maybe coming in. And John, if you have to take off, let me see if I still have the other one. I don't. I'll make sure I turn it. No, we're in the connection field. What am I talking about?
We're in the connection field.
We're in the field. We're in the connection field. This is our public call. Cool.
I went to the other one this morning. That's how I knew.
Oh, good. Glad you're here. I closed it too soon. So yeah, thank you. I'm glad you all found your way back here. I hope others did as well. So,
You know, Julie, I mean, this is great that it's still in the connection field, because there doesn't have to be a major transition here. We can stay right here until we're not.
we just stay right here, keep going. So we traditionally stay here 75 minutes or so. And so we have about 18 minutes to just really bring the fruits of that harvest forward and into the larger group. And our group was delightful. And I sense by my re-entry back into the large room, others were too. Tony solved all the world's problems, so I look forward to hearing. So feel free to unmute yourself and share from your small groups anything that's emergent in the moment.
I'm going to jump in because I'm going to have to leave early, and I was with Oriana, which seemed very appropriate. And we had an amazing moment. Just, it was poof. And I'm going to let her describe it more, because I do have to go, and just thank you all for the resonance. And it had to do with finding beauty and realizing that it's multi-layered, and that that it's our perception of beauty, that when we can live in beauty, we're able to see beauty, and that accelerates and amplifies the beauty which of the observed, right? It's a quantum field, and that just keeps building it. And as well, we're being observed by the higher order, and this higher order is amplifying us as it observes us. And it was this whole very beautiful moment, and I'm still having star shivers from it. So thank you for the question.
In our conversation, Amani and I, were talking about it being a matter of helping others initiate a personal experience rather than and illustrating that by how we lived our lives, you know. And one of the examples was that, you know, just you cast the information out there, and some people will get it and some people don't, but it isn't really like that, because basically what you're doing is planting seeds. And if you interact with someone and they immediately get it, all that means is that you're harvesting the seeds that someone else planted some other time. And if you're interacting with someone that doesn't get it, well, you know, that means that you're planting seeds. And it's just all a matter of maintaining your inherent optimism and positive attitude about the world, and as much as possible working all of that in the flow, because the flow will take you to places that you never thought you'd visit, with powers that you never thought you'd have, And, you know, it's fascinating how when you get into the practice, things can fit together so smoothly. It's like you're walking on an iceberg across a river and you take a step and another iceberg comes up just in time to where you can continue to your journey. So that's pretty much what we came up with, as I remember. And I should be back here in a little bit, and she can add some stuff if I forgot. But that was basically what we came up with. It just maintain it and don't stop with that positive attitude. It doesn't really matter how things look because things are never as they seem.
You got it, man. Ashe.
And David and I were talking, and I think one of the things that we both agreed with deeply is the ability to trust oneself and one's own integrity, so that if something is very different than what we believe, we're not threatened by it. We can stand in what we believe and open to the possibility of learning something different. But that if we're not in those roots of integrity within ourselves, we can easily get pushed off what some very different and perhaps to us scary information or wrong information. And so it's so important just to really stay in that place of trusting oneself enough so that you're not pushed off who you are, and you can open and ask questions and look at other possibilities, because it's not threatening in any way. And in fact, instead it's the food we need. It's as people were talking about, the seeds and the nourishment we need to be more open and to see new beauty in places we never thought it would be. So I'm complete.
Well, speaking of trust, for me, I'm Connie calling from Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. And yes, June, indeed, trusting ourselves and trusting a loving universe, trusting that everything is in divine order, that it's all good, ultimately. For me, there's only the coming of peace on earth and heaven on earth, that everything, absolutely everything serves that. I've said that before here, but I just want to bring it in again as far as finding beauty where the things that we see as not love and not beautiful are in fact serving this process of transmuting fear, transmuting separation and the illusion of scarcity that have been in this lower frequency. So just so important to see that, know that, be that, and then one contributes to the realization of us accessing that higher frequency where the earth is moving into. It's just humanity having to align with our hearts and with that knowing and with that energy that's available to us now, that the good of the whole, that everyone here is, that field that Julie is always speaking about, that's informing us, is saying, okay, kids, it's time. Let's do this thing. But we have to do it. We have to, by free will, have to bring it into the physical and bring heaven to earth and peace on earth. So just a reminder from me, I say it pretty often whenever I get to speak to you all, that for me, it's an absolute reality. So it's all good. We're doing a great job of this process and getting our shadow into the light. So, we just got to keep it up and get to where we're going, which is just a wonderful place that we can't even fathom, with more abundance than we can fathom. So there's nothing to fight over anymore, because we're in that abundant place Jesus showed us with the loaves and fishes and all that. So anyway, I'm complete. Thanks.
Hello.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I was in a group with John and Dawn, and came to sharing, and left with a question. Dawn had left us with a question, and what got us to the question was seeing how we interconnected, you know, just as Julie's question of our, apologies, I'm stuttering, this is like the post, that's what it was. It was the post, and they both shared it, and it was their truths, and so there's that bickering, and so after conversation and sharing and coming, and Dawn had the question of what is good for my tribe and for your tribe, and so it was more of looking forward to chatting again, so we can come in and weave it, tighter, and really seeing how the balance on each sides, and to bring that whole, instead of circles within circles, we can be one big circle, and universal love. And so yes, that's what I have to share from the talk. Thank you.
This is Sharon from New Jersey, and I was in a room with Martin and Karen from Costa Rica. And our conversation ranged. We talked about spiders and the beauty there. And Martin shared about raising his children not to be afraid of spiders or bugs, and that he's created adults now who are not afraid of them, and are curious about nature as opposed to being afraid of it. And then we also talked about like the pull of like hearing about the guardians of the forest, or these other many areas where you do want to support them, but maybe you can't monetarily. But what you can always do, coming back to what Connie and others are saying, is you can always send light, send love by staying in that place of home frequency, of knowing all is well, and send that energy out so that you're supporting them energetically, and supporting this whole thing energetically. So that really is the biggest thing that it seems that we do, is to remember and to support each other in remembering, and to just keep that frequency going. And Martin also talked about, if there's a fire in your kitchen, you don't panic and jump on it, you assess it, you take a moment, you stay quiet inside, you see what's going on. So always being aware, and then seeing where to move. What's the thing to do? What's the action you can take from that place where you're connected? So Karen or Martin, if you want to add anything.
I just wanted to add that, as was just said by Connie too, that to remember to trust that all is in in divine right order, and no matter how it looks on the surface, everything is working for our greater good during this time. And we see all these places where we'd love to be able to give our energy, but it's instead of to stay focused on what our role here is, and just send lots of love and light to those other places, which will hopefully, it should, if everyone sends that energy, that will help greatly. And of course, to give what we would see as negative things going on, the not pretty things as we might perceive them, not to worry, and not to give them any energy, to just look at them as information. This is where we're at right now, and to stay focused on the vision of a new world. So that's all I can think of right now, so thank you.
The only other part to touch on that we brought up, I think Sharon was the one that just said education. It was sort of her first thing, and that's it. I was on a walk with a friend a year ago or so, and we saw a cicada shell on a tree, and she jumped 9 miles to Wednesday, afraid of it. And I'm laughing because I grew up making necklaces from them. I have pictures of my kids with their shirt just covered with cicada shells, and that's the difference, is the education. The story of a cicada is beautiful, and just knowing that helps you accept that into our world. It is, it's rebirth, and she doesn't know that story. She just sees an icky shell. So education, I really like that, Sharon, that you brought that up.
I love that. It looks like we have about just 2 more minutes. Anyone want to have one last share?
I just wanted to ask if there's any way we could get a copy of that poem, Julie, because it's such an incredible example of differences coming from the same kind of love and feeling. And I would love to be able to share it with the people I work with.
Sure, I will post it in the Mentoring Stewards private Facebook group and the connection field.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
And would you also post what you were first describing as the good of the whole, that first segment that you did?
Sure, I would love to, because that's going on our new website, which is coming really soon, and our website looks gorgeous. And yeah, that's right on the homepage. It's exciting. So we'll have to plan some kind of celebration and launch together as we get ready to launch that new website. So, and David, you unmuted. I want to make sure we get your.
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, June said it so beautifully. And actually she mentioned that, to be a vessel that holds the possibilities of something other than, what you're expressing and what you're feeling, and, the willingness to listen, which I feel we are all about. We're learning. I'm learning so much about that. And I thought I was a good listener, but listening is very transformative, and it allows somebody to be witnessed. And, then they realize that they're not alone. And when we know we're accepted and loved, maybe that's the preliminary to being challenged, because that's safe. And I really feel strongly about that. We came to that, pretty close together rather quickly. So thank you.
And I would like to just follow up from what Elizabeth started off saying about the rainforest and this moment of beauty. When Julie first started talking about it, I was taken back to the first time I stepped into the Amazon jungle. And literally that moment of knowing, oh, I'm part of the food chain. I'm not top of it anymore. Everything here wants to eat me, every animal, plant, bugs. You step into the tributary and a little piranha bite you. And just knowing that there is something so much more vast in the beauty of the ecosystem, this alive, pulsing beauty of a whole system that is the world, that is coming into its own knowing of aliveness, and the water pulsing through this river that ran overhead as the atmosphere and flows over us in the desert here in Tucson. That aliveness that is pulsing, its beauty that is not yet liminal to us. And yet when we hold it, it's like holding the field together, where we know when we step in that there's something here that others are stepping into and meeting us and greeting us, and feeling that for the whole world, like that level of, the future is beauty, and that beauty is our future, and we hold it, see it, sense it, feel it, invite others into it, and the whole world comes into alignment with it. There you have it.
Gorgeous. You reminded me of something I want to share in closing here before we turn it over to John. Two things I really want to presence is when I was listening with you, Orion, I was remembering my trip to the Amazon. And if you've never been to the Amazon, the thing that was so fascinating to me that I never thought about prior to that experience was that literally in the Amazon, as you go up in elevation and as you're going up and down, there's completely different ecospheres. And I've seen it in the Colorado Rockies and other mountains, but I never thought about it as, oh yeah, only certain things grow here. And there's perfect balance within that altitude. And then you get up here and only certain things grow up here, and it's in perfect balance within that altitude. And there's a balance between this altitude and that altitude that work together in this whole system that Oriana's talking about. And then you go up higher and only these things exist up there, but they're in perfect balance. And then they're in perfect integration and balance with everything below and everything above. And it's exquisite design of our universe, exquisite design of creation itself. And understanding that, that's what we're doing. As I remembered that vision, it's like, that's who we be as planetary stewards right now. And the vision that we've had is that literally we move, this organization moves in a toroidal field that we're creating, and that as we can come into our space and we learn and grow together. I was just in my group going, I was in awe of the wisdom that came from, I had 4 in my group, some of you had 2, wisdom that came from Gil and Claudia and Linda. And I'm just like, wow, how do we amplify their wisdom out into the world? And so as we bring in this toroidal field, we're starting to get it. Like, this is how it can work in real life, is that we come in and we learn and grow and we share out, and other people can learn and grow, and it goes out into the greater field and comes back in again. And so as Sharon was talking, I'm thinking, wow, we need to have a whole series free in the connection field about the home frequency. We talk about the home frequency. What is it? What is it? How do we access it? Why do we call it that? It's like all of a sudden, it's like, yes, we get to come in and we get to muse in this sacred space. And this knowing, I shared that we have this fatal flaw in our understanding of ourselves as a species for hundreds and hundreds of years on this planet. And now there are those that know, we get that understanding of who we be as one planetary body. And as we wake to that, how do we continue to get that out and amplify and magnify that so others can see the beauty too. So I'm excited. Someone told me with Gil going, watch out for October, you guys. There's going to be a lot of new challenges, a lot of amazing, chaotic, crazy, perhaps ego flattening days, perplexing days, dark doom and gloom. There's a lot coming up. And someone said to me, but in your chart, you just keep going, girl, because this is what we need. And I just want to say that to all of you, because I heard that just this morning. This is what we need. Here we are. Shocktober. Who posted that? I didn't see.
Hi, Shocktober. That's good. I hadn't heard that.
Shocktober. Here we go into Shocktober, but we're together, right?
Hey, Julie.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned to me that October is like an advent calendar. But every day you get to open it and there's a new surprise.
I thought that was 2020. Oh, but here we are together. Thank you all for being here and coming together, and let's continue to weave a tighter weave so we feel uplifted and supported with one another, so we can go out in the world and do our work, shining bright and being who we be, and continue to just do what we're called to do individually as this collective here. So thank you all.
Julie, I want to say real quickly that in a engineering state, that when a system goes into flux is when it can shift. If it's stable, nothing's going to change. But when everything starts going into flux, that's when it shifts. So that's what all the flux is about. Just keep with the knowing we're heading for that beauty that is the home frequency, that is the entelechy of evolution. Yeah, we're coming out of the chrysalis.
Here we are, ready for the shift together.
Oh, Julie and John, might I take 1 minute for a bit of wisdom?
Yes, please.
I was in another meeting with a woman by the name of Marty Casey, who is in Chicago. She's a part of the Black movement there, Black Lives Matter movement, and which she calls her movement Undone. But she shared one of the most wonderful wisdoms I'd just like to share here. If you remember Barbara Marx Hubbard, one of her wisdoms was that we have 12 different groups in the wheel representing education, religion, economics, and so on. Each of them are vertical. They each stick together, and they all only talk to within their own group. And her idea is we needed syncons where we bring those groups together. But this was Marty Casey's example. She said, each tribe bakes a pie, which they think is wonderful because it tastes so good. Now, what if each tribe cut their pie into 12 pieces? And what they do is they give each piece to the other tribes, and they say, now you should be the way my tribe is and my pie is. She says, now what if instead each tribe took their pie, cut it into 12 pieces, and we all exchanged pieces? So we all had 12 pieces of a different pie, and we were instead kind of in technicolor rather than just black or white. I thought it was such a wonderful example of the importance of us sharing our genius together. So I just wanted to drop that because I thought it was such a marvelous wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, John. If you want to listen to Dr. Marty K. Casey more, I did a series of 4 with her back a couple months on the Dr. Julie Show. And if you're interested, say yes, and I'll post those links in the connection field so you can access them. Gil, what are you laughing for?
I just read her Linda's thing, so we can say "Flux you, Shocktober."
Okay, we have to close with laughter.
Sorry.
Oh gosh. Oh,
yes, please put it into the
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you all. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being here. Mwah. Nobody has to leave. We could just nicely say, John, host us in the connection field. You have our attention.
This is the connection field, and there is no separation, and there is no top of the hour, and there is
However,
none of those.
Linda does need to make you host, so let's make sure.
I think I already am.
Okay, cool.
It's already been done.